YouTube channel and as well our Facebook page. Let me swing over there and do the same thing there as well. So good morning to you, Mitch Foster. Let me bring in your microphone this morning and say a good morning to you, as long as we've got our... Okay, now Facebook is up and going there.
Oh, there we go.
Appreciate you for coming in this morning. Thanks for hanging out.
No problem, Chris. Appreciate the time as always.
All right, and let me dump one of our cameras so that I can bounce back and forth between our shots there. Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington. We get a chance to chat with you a few more times before you move on to other pastures and other opportunities. And I don't know if that was shocking to the community. We're going to kind of go through the timeline as we fast forward to today, because you're coming in with sort of that foreseeable future end date. I think June 24th, I believe.
Yep, is the theoretical end date. You're absolutely right.
All right. As the city manager of Ludington, we're going to talk over the next couple minutes about your position, what's next, where you came from, where you're looking to go to. Obviously, you're looking to stay in the community. And what position is ahead of you. There's been a lot of congratulatory messages. Obviously, there's some people that are like, oh, good riddance to them, and so on and so forth. It happens when you are a public official, doesn't it?
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I think, there was one comment made, and I'm not on social media, so I had friends sending me stuff, of course. But there was one comment made that, the negativity and the apathy is, could be part of the replacement process or concern of it. And that's definitely something council's got to consider, and frankly was part of my consideration as I look to what was next for me.
Does the negativity in a community, does that eat at you after a while?
Yes, it does. It kind of wears on you. Less the eating and feeling like the feeling down or those sorts of things. It's exhausting. And I think with a role that truly is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the avoiding the negativity at the grocery store doesn't happen. The avoiding the negativity maybe on the golf course doesn't happen. And so it does get a little bit of an exhaustion factor. You're absolutely right.
Now people will say, well, but you chose that, and so what do you say to them then? Yeah,
but I think we're all human. And I think there comes a point in time in which a choice has to be made or a decision has to be made for the best interest of yourself and your family. And I think at this point in time, I need to take a step back from city government. I love it. I've told my staff that. I love them. I love the council that I work with, and I love the people that I work for theoretically and the citizens. But I need to take a step back and find a little balance for a little bit of time.
Absolutely. You sent your letter of resignation out over the weekend on Saturday. The members of the media received that. You had notified council earlier in the weekend, the staff, and wanted to do this on your own time and your own timeline, right?
Well, it was a little bit of my own timeline, but it was also, dependent upon West Shore. They had a committee meeting last week on Monday, or sometime last week, that was reviewing this idea of appointing me to this position, and then their board meeting is today at 4:00, and so it's a little bit of self-preservation because there's always a chance that the board could say no, and that's why the letter of resignation is pending that approval today to make sure that that's taken care of before I fully resign my position with the 30-day notice.
Now, realistically, we'll talk about some details. I asked you a couple of questions prior to us going on the air, but the position at West Shore Community College, what title is that? And was it you seeking that out, them seeking it out from you?
So it's Vice President for Administrative Services. I'm very excited about the role. And it was just kind of happenstance, I would say. I had scheduled a meeting with the president, Scott Ward, from West Shore Community College, and during that conversation, the position came up, kind of from both of us in different ways, and that got me thinking about it. And then I took a vacation to Myrtle Beach a few weeks back, and during that vacation, I really was able to clear my head and get away a little bit, and that allowed me to kind of make a clear-headed decision.
People will say, he came from outside into the Ludington area, and sometimes it's kind of a leapfrog thing that happens. You come in, especially in a role like what you are in now, what you have been in, and say, okay, what's the next big step? A bigger city, a different environment, a warmer climate, so on and so forth. But you're deciding to stay here. What is that? Why is that?
Well, I think it's funny you say warmer climate. I've got a colleague looking, and he's a finalist in Georgia because of that. I mean, half of it is the warmer climate. There's no question about it. But I think from my perspective, you're right. There's always that chance. A lot of communities or a lot of citizens in communities look at city managers as hired guns. They look at us as mercenaries that are just going to take the highest dollar. And I've never really worked that way. Yes, I've gone from smaller community to smaller community, but I could have stayed longer in each of those communities until I found a better opportunity for my family and I. But now that we have two kids that love their daycare facility and all of the people that they've met, but also my wife and I have a great support system here, I had no interest in leaving. I had no interest in leaving the position that I was in as city manager. I love the work. I love doing all of that. But you had kind of two factors hitting me all at once. One was the better opportunity or an incredible opportunity at West Shore to jump into that role. And the other one was just the exhaustion I had from the role on the back end. And I think, I feel like, and this isn't a brag, I think this is more of a negative than anything. I feel like I hide the exhaustion or the stress pretty well. But over the last 4 to 6 months, I think council and some staff members have started to see it. And I think when that starts to happen, I think I had to take a step back and reevaluate things.
Well, and there's a lot of, as we have just started this campaign over the weekend, the keyboard warriors that are out there, those that hide behind aliases and that like to be negative, just to be negative, which is a very small percentage. And those people, that's why those people are not elected to city council or not kept on city council. You have those individuals that want to attack people in the public eye, and that and sometimes you are that people don't realize that you are an individual, and those attacks do add up. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington. Over the weekend, he tendered his resignation through the media, had alerted the City Council and others in the administrative offices at City Hall earlier in the week. And so, I guess my question is this: when you do, turn off the lights in your office and you exit the door, are you happy with what you have accomplished? And do you mind even sharing what you've accomplished, if you don't mind a little bit?
I'm pleased with my time, my 5 years plus with the city. I wish it could have been longer. In reality, it's not the physical things that I would be proud of, it's the people. And so bringing on staff members, even as recently as a couple of weeks ago with our new police officer, Braden Cronline. You've got Chief Jones, who's now taken a department to the next level. Chief John Henderson has taken that fire department that he worked under with Jerry Funk that was very, very good. And is moving it in towards more of what we would refer to as like a full-time professional department, but still run by volunteers. Jamie Hockemeyer at the water plant, working hard to fulfill his staff, but also to get them trained and to continue to provide clean drinking water for everybody. And they do a lot of their own work internally, which is incredible to see. Again, I keep pushing. Ask Jamie for a tour. It's pretty neat over there. Andrea at the Senior Center. It's the people that, for me, are the bigger deal. And I think from my perspective as a manager, that's your biggest impact. It isn't the projects. It isn't, the Lofts on Row project. Yeah, that's really cool, but it's one project. But replacing and fulfilling a role like Joe Stickney had at the Department of Public Works with somebody as skilled and as competent and as loved in the community by a number of people as Andy Lahr, that impacts every project on the Public Works side. And so I think that would be what I'm most proud of.
All right, a couple questions. I'm going to kind of do some quick lightning round questions, if you don't mind.
Yep.
Was there one thing that was the breaking point that made you decide that you needed to start putting things in perspective and looking?
I don't think there was one breaking point. I think your comment on the keyboard warriors is spot on for most of us in local government, and I think that I am much more apt to feel respect towards somebody if they show up to council meetings as well as be a keyboard warrior. But if you're just sitting back and not wanting to engage and not wanting to be the man in the arena, as Teddy Roosevelt would say, then you shouldn't have to. Your opinion doesn't matter as much to me. I'm sorry.
That makes sense. Absolutely.
Yep.
Let's talk about the bear event last week. We had a comment come up that said, could it be because of that? Obviously, you've been discussing moving on for a while now. But nothing came from that. That's a public safety thing, right?
Yeah, no. The bear was, frankly, a waste of a morning from my perspective because you had media and newspapers and television stations calling me, and I love my office staff and I love everybody that works for the city, but I think every office staff across the city had a screen or a news feed from yourself going at one point in time or another. So I don't think there was a lot of work being done that day. So the only stress that came from that was just the waste of 4 hours.
It was a long time.
Yes, it was.
If you're just joining us, we're talking with Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington, this morning. Tendered his resignation over the weekend, and moving on to hopefully to West Shore Community College. Now, you said something a few minutes ago about pending. Now, is there? I mean, there always is a chance.
Oh, absolutely.
But it sounds like you wouldn't have put this out there if you weren't confident that the West Shore Community College Board would say, yes, we want Mitch Foster.
Yeah, from my understanding, the board is fairly comfortable with me in this role, and they're actually, it sounds like they're excited about it. Scott Ward, the president out there, was very excited when, he wasn't trying to recruit me ahead of time, but the moment I showed some interest, he got really excited about it. It sounds like it's going to be a lot of the things that I already do from a community development, transportation, housing, food security, those sorts of things, and strategic issues on a 4-county basis, kind of the entire West Shore area. So I think I'm excited, and I think there's the board. It sounds like a number of them are excited as well.
All right, good information there. You have city government that has to continue. And so, for those that are out there that don't understand how the how things continue in the city of Ludington, the next step is for an appointee of an interim city manager. Is that correct?
Well, so I think at least in the conversations that I've had thus far with council, and I've told them, once I'm out of this role, I'm more than happy, or on my way out of this role, I'm more than happy to assist in any way I can. Because my goal is not to leave the city hanging. The city has been phenomenally gracious towards me and my family, so I owe them that respect. But this evening, it's a lot of just normal business. There will be some conversation with the Personnel and Finance Committee about what's next. And then there is a special Personnel and Finance Committee tomorrow afternoon in which the committee will talk about issuing an RFP for search services to bring in a search firm to do the search, as well as to kind of start initial conversations about the interim idea.
Is there some initiatives that you have started that could get curtailed? As one we talked with, I can't remember her name. We just had her on last time that you were on.
Allison.
Allison,
yep,
yeah.
The strategic planning.
That's correct.
Yep.
Is that going to go away now? Is that something that passes on? Is it something that goes into limbo?
No. So that's the one thing. And in reality, in my conversations with council, I've just asked for really a couple of things. One is my desire to continue on with the strategic planning process, because she will be on site the 12th and 13th of June. So before I'm done, but there's always the chance that council could say tonight, hey, thank you, but enjoy your 30 days off. There's always that chance. And so I've asked for that, but I've also asked for them to continue to get somebody in this role very quickly. And so I've already had conversations with Allison to say, hey, this is likely coming down the pipe. Could you have some paperwork ready for the next person so that you can kind of bring them up to speed? Because I would guess if everything goes fairly smoothly, by middle to end of August, they should have somebody in this role full time. But that would be after the strategic plan is approved. And so I think that plan can continue forward. I just think that the city manager, the next person coming into this role, they will have an opportunity to essentially say, here's a plan in front of me, I can run with it. And I think for me, it's great to be a part of the planning process, but our role as city managers is truly to execute the plan as provided by council. And so having a strategic plan and process or in paper will be great for that person.
All right. If you're just joining us, we're talking with Mitch Foster, city manager of Ludington, that has decided to resign from his role there. We'll certainly hear some of the opinions tonight at City Council, but can you at least tell us a little bit about the reaction from maybe the council or the administration at City Hall when they heard the news?
Yeah, I mean, this, as your response last night was, or others has been, it's been fairly shocked. This kind of came out of left field for most people. I have no idea how most of my friends, because I brought in a small group of friends to know about it in my family. Thank heavens my family lives in Everett or in Detroit, and thank heavens my friends are pretty good at keeping secrets, because this has been a long conversation or thought process for me to go back and forth on. And so staff really had no understanding or no idea this would happen. And it was tough. It was tough to tell them. I got pretty emotional about it. It was more difficult telling Jackie Steckel, the assistant, because, I mean, frankly, she's been amazing for my children, or to my children. The whole staff has, but she's been really helpful for me in this role. And with her retiring at the end of the year, I knew I was putting an extra burden on her. And so my apologies to the whole staff for that. But everybody was pretty shocked. Council was pretty shocked. So much so that I had one council member swear at me, frankly in jest, just confused and shocked. Yeah. So council, I've only heard from a couple of them directly so far. One was appreciative of my time, and the other one was saying congratulations. So only positive things so far.
All right. So some people are going to ask, and I'm going to be a devil's advocate for just a couple of minutes here.
Great.
Why at the beginning of summer/tourist season? Now, let me clarify something.
Yep. Okay.
I understand where you're coming from. I don't think there's any time that comes around that you just want to say, hey, it's not worth it anymore.
Yep.
But what's unfortunate is that the summertime we live and breathe on tourists.
Yep.
And the tourists don't understand or don't see all the negativity and all the stuff you got to put up with in the back end. We might change that as we launch this campaign moving forward from the radio station standpoint.
Absolutely.
But it's so important that that the city is able to live and breathe in the summer and generate revenue and be excited with the visitors here. So the question people are going to say is, well, why didn't he wait? And it's college, it's summertime, so on and so forth. Can you address that a little bit this morning?
So that's an interesting question. The one that I frankly hadn't thought of, because, my role is really to make sure the organization runs fluidly and runs effectively. But the day-to-day for those departments that handle the summer stuff primarily is handled by their supervisors. Between Chief Jones, between Superintendent Andy Lahr, the water plant that sees an incredible increase, the wastewater plant that sees an incredible increase in flow, and the DDA with Heather Tykowski and Brandy Miller running that organization, they handle a lot of that day-to-day. And they all, including Chris Jones, who has only been on the job for a little over a year now, know what they need to do. And I trust, and the community trusts them to do that job. I am not going anywhere. I think that's the one thing that I've communicated to everybody. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to West Shore. And so if there's a need for me to come back, half day or, for a meeting or something to talk about an issue or something like that, especially with the interim, because the interim really is just trying to keep the train on the tracks. Mm-hmm. They're not going to do anything super creative. They're not going to do anything super dumb, ideally. They're just going to keep it moving forward. And so I think that I am more than happy and more than willing to. And the community college, they want to be a good partner too. And so they have already said that as well. And so it wasn't about timing and that sort of thing, because there is never a good time. But, the idea of being having somebody come in and assist with the budget, which typically starts either the end of August or beginning of September, is a big deal. Having them come in, the late September, October timeframe would frankly just be a mess for everybody to deal with. And that also would not give Assistant Steckel the chance to frankly train that person. Because even though she reports to the city manager, she has more knowledge about this community and what has gone on than anybody could ever have in their lifetime. And so trying to help out everybody was part of the goal.
I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. If you're just joining, we're talking with Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington, this morning. I got some more questions for you. Obviously, you're getting probably some texts and stuff like that that are coming in. But
some fun ones, too. This is really interesting.
Yeah, no, this is good. I'm going to pepper you with a few more questions, because here's my goal over the next few minutes is to exhaust some of those rumors and some of those, again, we go back to the keyboard warrior sort of side of that is, and I'm just going to ask you one direct question.
Great.
Mitch, is there anything that we would find out after the fact why you wanted to make this change? Does that make sense? Because people are going to say that he did this and so he's trying to run.
Oh, no. I didn't sign some sort of contract illegally. There's no big pot of money that's going to end up going missing into my bank account. There's none of that I'm aware of that is causing this change. I can tell you that this was a long thought out idea and process. And if you had asked me this question about 3 weeks ago and it had come out that I was considering it, I probably would have said I was sticking around. It has been a long process to go through in my head to try to figure it out. It was not because I'm running away from something in particular, including a bear. I'm not running away from a bear. So it's just been for me, it's time. So yeah, it's time.
All right. And I hope it's fair to ask that question, because that stuff's going to appear it's going to appear out there, and that's what it is all about, because that's what happens. Mitch, the next step is City Council meeting tonight.
Yep.
Full forward until either the City Council says, you know what, we don't need to have them around, which it's very unlikely that will happen. I don't think there's animosity between you and the City Council that they're looking to do that.
Right.
What's different? I guess Scottville has a city council seat open, right? Newkirk.
City manager.
City manager, yeah.
Yep.
Newkirk. Now they can go for a while without a city manager there. Ludington can't, right? And
well, I don't know how their charter reads. Assistant Steckel pulled up the information. I'm trying to remember. There's a period of time that the city can go without having to appoint one. It's not a super long time, but it's not like 2 weeks.
Okay.
But I'm not going to speak with regards to Scottville and their process. All I will say is that the Personnel and Finance Committee at the city, as well as the City Council, have people on there that recognize the importance of this role and why getting somebody in there is important, but also making sure that the process to get somebody into the seat is going to be important. And so they will take it very seriously, and I will do the best that I can to help assist with that process in any way I can.
All right. And I know we're going to be talking more as we go. I don't want this to necessarily consume us, but I think this is kind of that breaking news in the Ludington area in regards to just coming out over the weekend, your letter of resignation,
Yep.
To the media and others out there. My last question is, what now that you were the city manager for 5 years? Is that correct? Okay, 5 years. And I'm going to say I'd rather have a response that is fair, neutral, and critical. If it can all come into that same realm.
Is this my response to the question you're about to ask?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I look forward to this.
And that is, what is that person that is going to need to be the city manager of Ludington? Because, it's not all sugar. It's not all sugar cookies and cupcakes. It is people being critical. It's drama. It's negativity. It's positivity when it comes to growth and such.
Right.
But what's it going to take?
That's a great question, and I think that's going to be part of the tough conversation that the city council has to have with itself and with the consultant. A good consultant will come in here and say, you know what, there are some tough things. You've lost 2 managers because of seemingly similar issues over the last 6 years or so. And you lost one who's frankly in the prime of his career, quote unquote, prime of my career, to a place in the same community out of the profession. And so I think there are going to be some tough conversations, and how do you recruit for that? But I think that this is an opportunity for the community to continue to evaluate itself and to say, let's try to recruit somebody that can fulfill what we're looking for the future. I feel like I still could have done that and love the gig. And so maybe they look at someone like me, which isn't always a good thing. But, I think there are up-and-coming managers in other parts of the state, or frankly, Wisconsin. No offense to Minnesota or Illinois or Indiana. But I think there are up-and-coming people that would look at Ludington and say, this looks like a place I could raise my family. Or a place, because there's always the chance you get somebody who's at retirement age or close to it that wants to settle down, be a manager for another 5 to 7 years, and then retire. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think that council is going to have a conversation with the consultant and really talk through it, and hope. I hope that they will, continue to engage me in that process. I'm happy to give my feedback on managers. And, someone asked why not just hire somebody locally for the role. And the thing I would say to that is there's nothing wrong with hiring locally. But the equivalent position in the private sector is a CEO of a company.
Okay.
I mean, that's the equivalent position. You have to oversee the entire organization. And so hiring a CPA from a local public accounting firm is one thing. Hiring the COO from a corporation is an entirely different animal. And the pay scale doesn't keep up with the private sector. And so that is part of it. But I think that there's a great opportunity here for someone to come in and really work. I look forward to working with them in my new role at West Shore if I'm lucky enough to be appointed today. But I think it's a great opportunity for somebody.
And we hope that that the public will still see you in the public eye. We had Steve Miller, a former mayor, that after Mark Barnett was elected, Steve just kind of fell off the face of the earth. He's doing a lot of great things behind the scenes, but not seen out in the public eye. Will you be that way?
No, because so for a number of reasons. One, I think the West Shore position, at least to my understanding, will be a lot of behind the scenes, but I will still be in the community doing work. I'll be on probably a number of boards, working on different issues. I still am on the board out at Lincoln Hills, so I can't avoid that. It sounds like I might be president next year. We'll see what happens there. And my family, we still live in town, so people are still going to see us biking around, coming downtown, going to events. I just may not have the opportunity to come on an amazing show like this every Monday,
You're
Chris.
Peppered with all these questions.
Right, exactly. But that doesn't mean I can't be in the future, and that's something that we could, West Shore would have to decide. But I look forward to a hair of a step back from that public eye for a little bit. I've already gotten off of social media about a year ago or 6 months ago. So the little bit of step back has been nice in that area. A little bit of step back on the public side might be nice too.
All right, Mitch Foster, city manager. Just a couple things that's on the docket for city council tonight. You're and again, as we get closer to the last appearance here on the morning show, we'll chat a little bit more about your transitioning role. You're approving of the health and wellness program proposal for all access care. What's going on there? And the same thing with the outdoor living and landscape at Harbor Marina there.
So I'll take the outdoor living. So Nunez Outdoor Living. It seems like they're a new firm that's doing kind of outdoor landscape type work. Harborview Marina hasn't had new landscaping since it was built. So Jim Christensen and the team over there budgeted just under what was invoiced or proposed. So they will be approving tonight, hopefully approving a contract with Nunez to have them come over and redo the entire landscaping around the main building there at Harborview, which will be beautiful. And then for the health and wellness program, that is for the fire department, our firefighters. Chief Henderson, again, is looking to professionalize the department. And so we'll be doing a waiver or a signed document that says essentially you have to participate in this program, or else, your participation in the department will be considered. And it will really be, testing on a regular basis to say, how's your health from a blood pressure, heart rate standpoint, and if you've got issues, then we'll push you to All Access Care, who is going to help you find a better alternative for lifestyle changes and other issues. So that's really going to be beneficial for the department long term.
All right. And then you have the concession stand.
Yep.
Now, is this the liquor license for the concession stand?
Yeah. So what? So if everybody remembers back a few months now, the concessionaires came to City Council and asked for the ability to sell prepackaged alcoholic beverages through a to-go license, essentially through the state of Michigan. Council approved that opportunity, but when the concessionaires and their attorney, Carlos Alvarado, approached the Liquor Control Commission, they said, your contract doesn't allow for it right now, and the ordinance is kind of vague on this. So tonight is kind of the second step to give them that permission, which is to make some amendments to an amendment to their contract, as well as to make some changes to the ordinance that carve out or allow the city to allow their concessionaire to sell alcohol down at the beach as well.
Okay, all right. Is that a good move for the city?
I think in the long term, it gives the city flexibility on the ordinance side, because I think sometimes ordinances really, they're meant to kind of hold, the city in a box, and sometimes it's okay to expand the box a little bit. On the concessionaire side, they really see value in this. Frankly, I do too. The ability to sell a drink when you're coming down to have your burger and fries, which are phenomenal, by the way. I don't see a problem with that, because when you go to the beach already, you'll see people come down there with coolers full of booze. And they're probably going to sell their drinks for like $7 or $8 a drink, which is not a $2 Busch Light. Yeah. There are differences.
Busch Light, is that beer? No, I'm just kidding.
It's corn beer. But no, I think it will be a positive thing. But again, even in the contract, the council will have the ability after a year to review it and say, yeah or nay, moving forward.
All right. And then is there anything else on the list of items for City Council that we want to touch on before we wrap up this morning?
I think the only other thing I want to touch on briefly, it is the Charter Commission. So the City Council, through John Terzano last meeting, asked for the attorney to provide an update on the Charter Commission and what the next steps would be after the city won at the appeals court over Mr. Rada. And so that's going to be a little bit of a discussion tonight. It's not great news, because it looks like we'll probably have to do some sort of a restart based on the way the statute reads. But, at least council has the opinion and can make a decision moving forward and can have a conversation with the existing Charter Commission members.
And so give us a little background, if you don't mind, on that.
Yep. So the city had a charter language approved, or I should say a charter revision commission language approved couple of years ago, actually. Started the process, had commission members appointed or elected. Mr. Rada sued based on he didn't believe that we had done it properly. We went through this long court case, went to the Court of Appeals for the Western District, and that was thrown out. So then it came back to the Circuit Court. They approved it, so we could theoretically move forward really after the start of the new year. But the problem now is that the time frame allowed under statute and the required review periods by both the governor and the attorney general's office, it doesn't look like we have any chance of getting this done. So we would have to do another vote, another process. Thankfully, we didn't spend a ton of money, but we'd have to restart everything.
And can you prevent that from being stalemated, waffled around, delayed again a second time?
I think so, because I think we would follow very eerily similar what we did, but maybe just a couple more changes from a communication standpoint. Because everything, again, the Court of Appeals was very clear. Mr. Rada's suit was based on one person's opinion on the information, but the information was there. It was out. All three judges concurred, and so I think at this point we would probably just make it a little bit more obvious, but with similar numbers and similar process.
Okay.
Yeah.
And those checks and balances isn't a bad thing, even
Nope.
if it's community members and so on and so forth, right?
Yeah, I just think sometimes that if one person's opinion doesn't have to carry the day, and that's okay. You can be entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And I think the Court of Appeals made that perfectly clear.
All right. We're out of time for today, and we've got another guest coming out in a few minutes. But this is not the last time that you're going to appear on the morning show.
No.
We've got till June 24th, so I believe at least two more times, the third, and at least a couple more times.
It would be the 10th and the 24th, actually.
Okay, your last day.
My last day is a council meeting.
All right. Do you? It's up to you if you would like to appear.
I'm happy to come in, Chris.
All right. Okay.
Absolutely.
Well, we appreciate you. I know. I've only been here for a few years. You've been here obviously longer than that. We've had a chance to work together, and we appreciate you coming in on a regular basis to be transparent in regards to what's happening in the city. And I talk to individuals all the time that say, well, we don't hear this in a big city and other areas. We get a chance to do some one-on-ones to be able to share this information. So I would assume that we're going to hopefully continue that torch with either the interim city manager, maybe the mayor back in the studio, or somebody there from the city. Maybe we'll put Jackie on before she retires. No, I'm just kidding.
She would, if that was a directive by either myself, the next manager, or the mayor, I think she'd retire early.
Absolutely.
But I do think there would be a lot of value. Maybe I can get her to come in before I leave.
And Jackie's last month or last weeks, do we know that?
It'll be the end of the year.
Okay, end of the year.
Okay.
All right. So Jackie, that is your. We've put the gauntlet out for you to come and appear on the air with us. Mitch, obviously it's shocking for the community to know that you're stepping aside from the city manager role of the city of Ludington, but still obviously staying in the community, being able to help with the students there and the administration at West Shore Community College, and I think that's going to be a great role for you. So we appreciate you taking some time with us today.
No, thank you, Chris. I appreciate it as always.
Absolutely. 8:52 now on 102.7 Mom FM and Hot Country Hits 99.